that video went a little long. So yeah. Hello, good morning, everybody, and um, it's actually an honor to be presenting at such an esteemed gathering. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity for letting me present over here. And of course, Carla has been so kind telling good things about me. Yes, so I'm just a few years into the security industry. I mean, from the start of my career, I've been. But today, it's not about that. Today, we are going to go ahead and discuss about uh, the Trendmicro Vision One SOC as a service, which we are enabling our partners to go ahead and deliver, because it is very, very, very important uh, that organizations just do not rely on tools uh, just to protect. You need something more. Uh, you need somebody to use those tools, look at those tools, giving you these alerts and look into it. So that's the whole point of our discussion. I would not go too much into what threats and what different threats are. Threats are actually real, and we all know that ransomwares, uh, hacks, attacks are happening each and every day. When we used to talk about 10 years back, people say, "Oh, this could be stories; these are not real." But in today's world, it is not. It is real, and it has reached even the end consumer per se, leave organizations. Uh, and if you just look at the vastness of tools, right? It can start with APT group targeting. It could be a nationwide attack or a nation state attacking another nation state, but then those tools and those attacks are being used against organizations, against individuals across. So we have seen, as a fallout of this Ukraine crisis, a lot of the attacks happening and was meant for nation state, but then they are also being taken by ransomware uh, as a service guys to go ahead and attack organizations. And it is spread over SCADA, it is spread over uh, normal uh, IT, etc. So how do we combat that? And when we are talking about combating that, long there has been a discussion, and partly because of vendors like vendors as well. I would say that there is a technology. We concentrated too much on technology, and we are talking about technology and features. It was typically a feature versus technology war. And when we went into and talking about, oh, do you have this, can you do this, etc., and technology vendors used to be providing those features, etc., but when I do my yearly health check or the 6 monthly health check, I find tons of them not being used, making the tools redundant, any tools in the world per se redundant. And uh, and now we saw that this is a problem in today's world, right? And the problem is just not, and just by solving the technology piece, it won't solve any problem. There is a need to go ahead and try and solve the people problem, and and more importantly, it is a process problem as well, which needs to be solved. And I would deep dive into it in a little while. But first, I would like to get into some of the key challenges that, uh, in my experience, that I have seen. Um, we do see a lot of talent gap, and though there are a lot of young people out there, and some people are doing a SOC analyst training somewhere, and some people are doing an ECI at somewhere, they are good, and they need to be done, but they need to be guided properly from us on how to run a SOC and how to go ahead um, and do the monitoring, how to do the processes, etc. So that is something that we have seen, uh, a huge gap per se. And it is, I would not say, in what makes matters worse is attackers are getting sophisticated. We have seen for the last few years that attackers don't rely on their attack payloads to do it. They use inbuilt, let's say I would take something like a Windows sys internals to do a huge number of things. Like say if they want to go to a website and download a package, they will use MSHTA, or they will use PS exec to do lateral movements across. So having said that, what I'm trying to emphasize over here is that there is a talent gap, and there is the attackers have proven sophisticated, and it compounds the problem. People say that, oh, let's have a data lake and let's have a SIM, and then let's go and take all the data and put it somewhere and analyze. Collecting huge amount of data is not the answer. Data is important. Data speaks volume. I agree, but how do you correlate that data is important. How do you convert the raw data into events, from events to alerts, which is actionable, is important. And what action are you taking is important. Uh, I love this example. I have seen this example from a firewall with a next gen IPS, for example. I go ahead and see that what does a normal SOC do? Uh, they see, oh, it's an IPS event. It was an attack and it was blocked. So it was an offense, but because it has been blocked, I go ahead and close the ticket. I need not work on it anymore. But that's not what a mature SOC would try to do, right? A mature or MXDR driven SOC would say, ah, so this is an IPS event from this source IP and this has been blocked. Why don't I pick the source IP and search my data that do I have any traces of this IP in my organization? Then people go and then it's an automated, or it can be automated. I would not come into the automated part right now. Goes and searches and tries to figure out what is, if there is a match, that means there has been attacks happening, which my IPS did not detect. And I'm not trying to blame the IPS over here. There could be some tuning problem, etc. But then we can do a cross investigation and help tune your IPS or see if it's a 0 day or not. And of course, then we have to talk about logic, correlation rules, because we do not want the analyst to die of alert fatigue. And analysts normally are in a normal SOC, analysts are. So what they do is they have created rules. Oh, if it is blocked, just don't take any action, just move on. And then we talk about unknown threats. And unknown threats, we are talking about 0 day payloads and 0 day attacks, even vulnerability attack. In my experience over the last 1 year, since we have launched this project, I have seen 0 day vulnerabilities as well being attacked. And it is very important to have a look when we look at and we do a cross correlation investigation. Oh, this was something that is unknown, right? And log4, during log4j, it came out vividly. And of course, having multiple security tools does not help a SOC. And that's coherent with big data, because there's lots of data coming. And the answer is, what do you do? And every organization would like to do it in their way. So how do we solve the problem? Now, the way we try to solve the problem, I try to cover this at the very high level, is Trendmicro already has XDR for its native products. So Trendmicro has its email security, Trendmicro has their web security, Trendmicro has their endpoint security, etc. But mostly Trendmicro, say a customer has a Trendmicro on the servers and on the endpoints and maybe on the email. It does not have the web and the network. Necessary, it might not be a complete Trendmicro shop. What does organizations want? Organizations want, can you integrate with my third-party firewalls or third-party proxy, etc.? And how can you give me the best? And that's the whole criteria of today's discussion. So apart from giving the native XDR that Trendmicro is there, we are talking about the data lake that we provide for the SOC as a service, in which your third-party data can come. And we also give a SOAR platform to the SOC with case management, where there are playbooks, custom use cases, etc. And not only we are trying to give you those the tools, and rather we give the partner the tools to provide you the service. So this is, you are oblivious, you are just taking the service as a customer. And so what typically we give the playbooks, we give the use cases, we give end-to-end plug and play SOC as a service. We have created workflows which are automated. We create detection rules, models, typically on our XDR and on the data lake as well. And there can be custom workflows, right? Like, for example, you say, oh, you take a response But if you want to do a cleaning, I want you to create a ticket on my ITSM tool or on my ServiceNow or on my Jira or my BMC. That is a custom workflow that I would talk about. And lastly, we get into the integration piece, where we are talking about integrating across vendors, right? Oh, I find this URL suspicious. Can I block it on a Zscaler or on a Blue Semantic gateway? Or can I block this IP on the firewall, right? So all of these automated use case and integrations also come into picture. This is what I want to clarify it, where many organizations do think that buying a SIM is equal to having a SOC, which essentially is not true, right? Because when you talk about a SOC, it is talking about expertise you're having about a platform that has all the use cases inbuilt, that are talking. It's not a built-in few use cases. Uh, Customize it according to your requirement. Uh, Getting the data right, getting the correlation rule right, getting to see that whatever data you are sending is actually getting correlated and an alert is getting created for actionable alerts. And lastly, I would talk about SOPs. When I talk about SOPs, I would try to mention that SOPs are the standard operating procedures that which tell the SOC operator. Now it's not only it is actually telling, it's a mirage of processes and even the response book where it happens. So this is typically a way we try to show case what we are trying to achieve, right? So there is telemetry from Trendmicro, and you can take any number of, not all, you can take a few of Trendmicro sensors, and you can take, and this is getting enriched by Trendmicro per se, as you can see on the top, and getting correlated by the Trendmicro XDR. So on the top, first three that you are seeing to the alerting is done by Trendmicro itself, and that's the power of Trendmicro XDR. But what we are complementing it in our SOC as a service is we are taking telemetry from third party, and you can see a proxy and IAM or 365. Though we have network, we can pick up those things. And we are also getting it enriched further with threat intel, MITRE mapping, sub technique, and getting it further into the correlation phase, like embedded intelligence, machine learning, correlation. And thus we get into an alert phase where tickets are getting created. And when tickets are getting created or cases are getting created, there is a rich case management which talks about the ticketing system, the SLA with MTTR, MTD, monitoring the dwell time that the analyst is spending, the MITRE data, how much it is mapped, the kill chain mapping. There is an approval. For example, I want to isolate a critical assets for which I require your approval. There's an approval. It also needs to be inbuilt. There is a TLP tracking on what can be shared, what cannot be shared. And then you can see that on the top, then it's all part of the investigation, right? On investigation and the response part, right? How we go ahead and do response. I would not get too much into the other details, the add-ons of the others, but coming to reporting and threat advisories, that's a very key component. And what we do and what we exactly do from an advisory, and this is we look into the threats that are coming up every day, and we try to check it with your organization and try to tell that, are you affected? And if you are affected, we try to take immediate action. And if you're not affected, we send you an advisory that you are not. So that's something we do. But before I jump in, I would like to get into a little bit of the technology part where we are talking about EDR to XDR, the evolution of endpoint security. So what is an EDR? So EDR is primarily a tool which does event detection, containment, investigation, and response. So these are the primary things. That's typically, I would say that it's sitting on your machine and recording each and everything. And it has some capabilities of doing response on the endpoint. But there were limitations of an EDR, like that it was working in silo, it was only an agent. Correlation was that it was doing the MITRE mapping, etc. And though SOC was there, SOC had this problem that's just dealing with EDR. is not great. So I need to cross correlate with multiple other products and try to figure out something. So in came this technology called extended detection and response, where multiple source data comes up and XDR collects the deep activity data from multiple layers, the email, endpoint, server, cloud, and it's getting enriched into events, I would say. And maybe one of the criteria that's getting used is MITRE, right? And then it is further correlated using automated analysis using models. And then it is get into the incident phase if there is any relationship. So a few events together can make an alert, and few alerts together can make an incident. So what we are trying to give to a security SOC analyst is as much correlated and information data when a case is coming to him, so that he does not waste time searching a lot. Its job is only to look at what has already been provided and try to do much more. But coming to XDR, there are two types of XDR, and this is my duty to explain to you a little over here. And if you then this is as per Forrester, right? In which you have on the right hand side you see a native XDR, essentially like Trendmicro, where I mentioned we have the same vendor providing multiple touch points and giving you a native XDR. And on the left, you have see a hybrid XDR, which is typically the SOAR vendors in today's world, which are talking about integrating with each and everybody in that they can. Now, there is a difference between the two. On the right-hand side, you see the vendors can provide more depth and coverage because they are native sensors, and the depth is huge, humongous. On the left, and because they are working on telemetry means every data. On the left, which is typically something that the Trendmicro does not do, is the hybrid XDR part, whereas the more coverage. So these are two type of vendors, but they have more coverage. It covers mostly everything, but it might not go that deep because it's dependent on logs. So when this happens, organizations ask which one should we choose, right? And that's where we come back to the issues that we are talking about, right? Okay, there is a problem with people, right? We have a skill set problem. If I get people, I double retaining them. Now, if I'm setting up a SOC, I might not be able to set up a SOC. Or if I set up a SOC, how do I keep it up? Right? It requires humongous amount of effort just to keep everything updated, right? My playbooks, my use cases, my changing, because every day things are changing. Coming back to technology, organizations prefer the depth of native XDR, something like what Trendmicro or the other the native security vendors provide. But customers also want to go the breadth of hybrid XDR, which typically the SIM vendors provide, right? And there is the problem that customers want best of both worlds, and it's not unjustified. That's the correct thing to ask. And coming back to the update part, who will update the connector, who will connect the workflows, etc. Even from a technology point, it becomes an important. So what we do is we pick up an MSOC partner, and we give them constant training, and we try to solve. And these trainings are 7-8 trainings at one go. They pass, and then they have regular update trainings. We try to solve the people problem by enabling our partner, SOC partner, to do it, and it is continuous. We also give a platform which can do native XDR plus hybrid XDR. So it can integrate with Trendmicro's native XDR and integrate with your third party, giving you hybrid XDR. And when we're talking about connectors, playbook, automation provided, everything is given to the partner. And because it's a Trendmicro SKU, the ownership is with us, but we go ahead and try to have weekly calls, see that the quality is maintained, etc. So if you look at this is what we are trying to do. We had this native XDR, but we are integrating with the third parties as well on a single pane and trying to give you. So this is the exact uh, trigram data, the different data that is coming in. Essentially, there are two parts to it, and you can see that we are talking about detection logs and third-party integrations across the whole thing. So this is essentially that I have been trying to say. So we support a lot of third-party logs, and you can see over here, and it is also not only logs, but it is also remediation, augmenting the Trendmicro XDR per se, and giving a complete end-to-end this thing. I would like to end in the next 1 minute. So trying to emphasize that what do we actually do? Like this is an example of our advisory, right? So this is a ransomware and sent by our partners, right? Actually, it is backed by us. So we send the actual data. They just make it based on their customer and then send it. So this is the threat intel that comes up from, let's say, the hacker news, right? And apart from what Trendmicro is doing, right? This is the extra thing that is happening. So here you can see that a customer has been informed that this was this ransomware, and we have extracted the IOCs. We have scanned the IOCs across all your data, the network, the endpoint, the server. We did not find a match. So there is, in a retrospective, it is not there, but we have also set it to block. So that, yeah, and this is the kind of report from a thread, and it is not like monthly or weekly, right? It is real time. It comes up, we do it, and we send it to you, right? So this week itself, I think it has been more than 7 advisories which have been sent, which typically tells our customers, yeah, we have been doing it. So this is another, the last part is the live test case that we are doing from a proactive hunting. I would like to give you this examples of Falena. So if you look at this Falena, it came up on the 30th of May. It was a Microsoft vulnerability which was getting this thing. So Trendmicro came up with this article on the 1st of June and saying that we detected as a payload as a malware detection. We say, great, we detected as a payload and a malware detection, fine, but we would like to do a threat hunting ourselves. So we got this from Trendmicro, that you can see, right? This is a search. So it's a parent behind file, winword.exe, process name. So this is typically what was happening was code was getting executed from a Word file, not using macros. And that was dangerous. And it could be ransomware or anything else. So it was typically dangerous. We had this low-level detection, but we started to prioritize it, and we started to follow it up and try to give detections and try to see on high alert that if this was coming up. So this is the search that we are doing from the tool as well as from Trend XDR. So you can see it is typically the same. And we also keep it as a watch list so that if this matches from now on, there is an alert automatically that's coming up. So this is just, so now we are telling that if this alert comes, so if there is a code that is getting executed from Word, I should get an alert, right? So that's what we are trying to necessarily do, right? And this is an example of things that are done real time. And because we do it for multiple of our partners, we have a dedicated threat intel center which does it. We can go ahead and do it. And it is across products, right? As I mentioned, right? It would be very difficult for individual SOCs to do it. So we are standing behind our delivery partners who are doing it so that they can go ahead and give the best of processor, best of search, best of use cases to our customers. And it is not plug and play that they have given something on day one and it is done. On that note, I would come to the end of my presentation. I think I've overrun by a couple of minutes. Apologies for that. Thank you.